I'm Margaret in Windsor, and I was kidnapped in 41 and brought to Moulton, Alabama. And I wrote a book before I found out about my kidnapping. I have to use the name Peggy Ann Dempsey. I married Childers. Turn this around because I've been putting up about mind control murders, and they're done in patterns deliberately so they can be proven. Uh, I would think that anyone, if, I've gone to the media. I found out about my kidnapping and the Illuminati, Rockefellers, Rothschilds kidnapped me. And I didn't mean to even bring this in this moment, but it has to do with why they won't tell any of it, the truth. Um, I did a book. I found out about my kidnapping and real name in 1983. I was doing a medical malpractice book, MD A License to Kill, in Marietta, Georgia. I live there at, I'm looking at that plane just crashed. Um, and I wrote the book, and Larry Flint, publisher of Hustler magazine, was shot March the 6th of 78. I was doing the book at Moonraker Apartments, which, well, I won't get into that. Moonraker was later a movie about a year later with Bond, a 007, like the Queen, protects the Queen. And then about another year later, Timothy Dalton, the movie was entitled A License to Kill. So that should be enough to alert people that I'm telling something, whether they like to believe it or not. I had a letter from the FBI, ongoing investigation, national security involved, and that was dated June the 23rd, 1979. That was from the U.S. Attorney William Harper out of Atlanta. Very nice man. I kind of knew the FBI agents there, or got to know them a little during this time, even though in April Fool's Day of 80, they almost killed me. Wow, that was really meant to be a takedown, and it did. I shouldn't have lived, that's to put it bluntly. Now, I want to go back to I did the book, and later in 83, when Congressman Larry McDonald, he was a urologist at Piedmont Hospital in Atlanta, and he was part of a case part of more than one cases in my book. And that hospital, I was writing, that was just part of this about Piedmont. These people were involved there. There was Jean Srokerman that was gunned down. She was suing a psychiatrist. And she went to a beautiful man who was later killed. He wrote books, and by the way, he was head of psychiatry and law at Emory University, and then later, when he was killed in 1980 or 81, his last book was Power of Psychiatry, and he had my cases, at least 10 of them. In the back, I'd never met him. He was a very honest, one of the few people that Jonas Robichaud, who will never get rewarded probably the way he should. But anyway, Jean Srokerman went to him for help. He sent her to my attorney, Eugene Kaiser, and that's how I knew of her. And my attorney let me have a copy of a deposition she had done. She went to work at Piedmont for Dr. Hardiman. And Dr. Hardiman he's a psychiatrist, he becomes a part of knowing someone who I trusted, but they got to her job, so after a while she couldn't help me anymore. But when I was telling her about Jean Srokerman, she was putting it together because she knew Jean Srokerman and she knew Dr. Hardiman. Anyway, it gets to be a mess, and anyway, Jean Srokerman was gunned down in Hardiman's office on Christmas Eve. And that was about 1976, I think. But this is part of what I was telling. Now I don't know about that one. She was taken down. I'll be honest with you. I don't know that that was a program shooter. I don't that one, but it fit into all this. Larry McDonald, Congressman, doctor, and there were some good doctors at Piedmont too. But it was that was part of all this that I was writing about. Some of it was there. Anyway, I don't mean to be scattered. So that somebody can't piece it together. I'm going back and forth. Dr. Robicher was Gene Schrokerman's attorney. He referred her. He was the head of psychiatry and law at Emory, and he referred her to my attorney, and that's when she got killed and shot in Hardiman's office. And later, he knew my husband, and my husband told me, he said that Hardiman wanted to know how much I knew about Gene Schrokerman. And then these doctors had almost had me killed. April Fool Day of 80. So now I meant to go back, and I was giving you a little background on it. I've been on Facebook and YouTube for a long time, 5 or 6 years now. And it's shocking. There's a lot of crimes being committed they don't tell about. The media's controlled by the Illuminati. They kidnapped me. Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers. My own Uncle George VI, Elizabeth's father, who was promoted to, you got the Illuminati saying who can be king or queen, and if you don't like it, they'll take you down and they'll kidnap your kid, as they did Edward VIII, who was married to Claudia Ruth O'Keefe from Madison, Wisconsin, school teacher, sister to artist George O'Keefe. He wouldn't follow their orders. They took him down with character assassination. And an imposter married Wallace Simpson. My father, I was born in 39. My own uncle and Roosevelt, I've got pictures. Yeah, that's Meghan and Harry. Wow. Anyway, I guess I'm bouncing around. I'm just going to get back to this. Mr. Flint was shot while I was doing the book, and it was about mind control use. You can program people without their knowledge. And the place that they usually put the chip, a good one, that they use is in a root canal. So if you found out some way that you had a chip in your root canal, what are you going to do? Go back to your dentist, another dentist, and tell him what? And I can assure you what they would tell you is to seek mental health. This is what's being done with all these shootings, that mass shootings. And they're specific, the ones they put up, and there have to be, I don't know if they're mass, but other murders that are going on they don't tell about. It's just, part of it is, are they going to tell the truth? Because the Parkland in Florida, they spoke up, the students, but it's wrong. Taking your guns away, they can be programmed to go out, 50 of them, and have bought butcher knives or whatever and go out and slaughter. So I hope I don't say anything and it happened here. But that's what's going on. You have to deal with mind control. And nobody's doing it. Are you going to tell me that I have put this up all these years? Media always knows that they won't tell it because of who I am, is one thing. And if you notice, everybody, and I'm going to say it again, this one that happened today out in Santa Fe, not New Mexico, but you got a clue there, Santa Fe, Texas. They're trying to say, well, there's no motive yet. Well, this young man doesn't have a motive. He doesn't even know his program, just like Paddock in the Vegas shooting. They did an autopsy on his brain. They should have autopsied his body to see if he had a chip in him. Of course, they didn't find anything. All these people are hated. Some of them are programmed to turn around and kill themselves, shoot themselves. They're murdered too by the same method and group that program him to shoot like at Virginia Tech next door. Columbine, Sandy Hook. The young man shot and killed his mother, and then went into the school and shot and killed the children. And it's beyond me that people don't put it together. Even if I tell it, people want to call me nuts. They don't want to hear it, even though they can go on to Google and Google mind control in it. I'm sure I haven't read it, but I'm sure it tells a lot. By the way, this has something to do with all this. What's going on here over at Windsor? Wow. Will the truth be told? Ever. Now, I guess wow, you got the crooks. Crooks is hard to take after finding out about my kidnapping and all these people, the money. Elizabeth doesn't represent the British, and I'm not going to go into all this again. I've put it up if you care to look on my YouTube's Peggy Childers, Peggy Ann Childers. I have two, but the latest is Peggy Childers, the YouTube account. The other one I almost lost. They're making a hero out of her, and you got Gayle King, best friend to Oprah. None of these people will touch me. The media, nobody. The locals here, nothing. Huntsville, Alabama, Atlanta, Georgia, where I was doing the book. The only person that really ever was Larry Flint, who flew me out there during the campaign when Larry McDonald, the doctor congressman I wrote about, was supposed to have gone down in the KAL. It was shot down by the Soviet MiG when it went into their airspace in August the 31st of 83. Now then, a lot of things happen. Well, I'll just leave it at that. People who've been associated in all this. So anyway, I'm watching this, and it's unreal that the media has made such a spectacle of it. My father, I'm going to go ahead and say it's Edward VIII, who never married Wallace Simpson. Wallace Simpson married a double, an imposter. And I'm gonna get off the phone because off this phone. All I have is this little computer phone, and I'm gonna stop. If you care, you can go back in my Facebook and Google it and look, and you'll get the gist of it. But the odd thing in all of it is these were done in patterns that they're putting up, and the Illuminati control the media. So I'm not quite understanding how they're letting it go up, and yet they won't tell about me because they were part of the crime. They control your media. But let me go back to this, and then I'm going to leave because I've gotten nowhere with it, and the subject has to be before Congress. MK Ultra was brought before Congress in 1953 because of mind control. They were slapped on the wrist and sent on their way. And Congress has to know. What kind of Congress have you got if they don't know? They do. Sessions of Alabama, who I thought is a good guy, and he is now U.S. Attorney General, put there by Donald Trump. I thought he would tell the truth about what I was brought to Moulton, Alabama when I was kidnapped in 41. At age 2, I was born in 39. And I'm not going to get into any more about my kidnapping and tell this, except George VI, illegal. They took down my father with lies, character assassination. And they still have him history stating he married Wallace Simpson. She married double, who did all kinds. Well, there was more than one that went out and just did atrocious behavior. And it was said to be my father. It was a takedown of him and my mom, Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, a teacher from Madison, Wisconsin. So when they say that Meghan is an American princess and all this, it's like a slap in the face. They've got the real monarch here. That's me. They've done things to me, my children, Mark and Scott, that are so hideous. I can see why they don't want it told. So they've got me because the day I was born, my father had an attachment legal, stating if he had an heir would inherit. So the minute I was born, I'm Victoria II, heir to the British Crown. Now, believe me, they all know. The people that helped me that I can look back were the Brits and the Germans and some Americans. And I can't handle watching what so many Americans know what was done to me, and me then trying to tell about the mind control murders. And I have spent my time, they keep me like a pauper and with no money and no place to live most of the time. So it's been hard for me. And rather than trying to help tell who I am, everybody's buying this Harry and Meghan, and I don't know where that goes. It's supposed to happen tomorrow morning in Windsor Castle. By the way, they got the double that pretended to be my father, Edward VIII, who's an imposter, that married Wallace and became the Duke and Duchess of Windsor. He was buried at Frogmore, Windsor. It'd be nice to dig him up and find out who he really was. But anyway, even now today at the Santa Fe shooting, they're saying that they don't have a motive. Well, they don't, because the young man doesn't even know he was programmed. Neither does the Parkland young man. These people are hated. They're victims just as much as the ones they shot and killed. And you know who's to blame? The media for not telling it. And the media, if you're congressmen and doctors, how about your doctors and your dentists and all this? You hear anybody speaking up about it? No. That's all I'm going to say for today. I meant to stay away from it, especially with what's going on over there. Elizabeth is, I hate to say it, my cousin, and so is Philip Mountbatten, that she's married to. She works for the Illuminati. Her father, George VI, helped take down his own brother, and he helped kidnap me with JFK, and whose father was appointed ambassador to England by President Roosevelt for the very act of taking down my father. And then when I was born, they had to get rid of me, and they did a damn good job of it. So I've told you about the mind control. The guns are not what you take away and not what you put controls on. They're trying to say all these people, you check them and see who's mentally ill. That's another way, and I happen to know this for a fact. Martin Luther King joined with John Kennedy, JFK, back, well, before he was shot, obviously, and then later Martin Luther King was shot by a program shooter. These men partnered, and they were into not helping the mental health, but exactly blaming mental health for all these atrocities on the plains. And it's a way you get more security and take away your independence. But don't let me tell you, everybody's still living good, most of them, so they want me shut up, and they've done a good job of it, shutting me up. And here they're going over with Meghan. That's my money, my job, that they took from me, stole from me. I was Victoria, the second heir to the crown, the minute I was born. It would have brought my father and mother back as my power of attorney, my father and my guardian. And so, Uncle George was in a